Hi, and a warm welcome to this digital event. My name is Karin Svakén, and I'm the head of the Department for Management Support at Sida, and I'm also part of Sida's management team. I've been working with development cooperation for the past 25 years, focusing mainly on Africa and organizational development. And I'm very happy to be here today in WeEffect studio in Stockholm, together with Anna Tiblin, who is the Secretary General for WeEffect, and Josephine Sundqvist, who is the Secretary General for Läkarmissionen, LM International. Before we start, I would like to say a few words about why we are here today. WeEffect, LM International and Sida started a digital initiative about a year ago because we wanted to learn more about how digital tools can be used as methods in Swedish development cooperation. We all believe that there are opportunities within digital development that can support the work we are doing. And with the focus we have on effectiveness and reduced carbon footprints, we think that virtual trips can be an addition to our physical field trips, and we would very much like to continue and develop the method with our partners. The methods we are diving into today, digital studio and digital travel, more than anything else enable conversations over borders that wouldn't be possible otherwise. With virtual field trips, we broaden the possibility for people to participate, to see and to understand what development cooperation is all about. Digital innovations and tools really give a voice to people who lack internet connection or technical equipment, and who thereby normally wouldn't have the possibility to participate in international dialogue.
Thank you so much, Karin, and welcome both of you to WeEffect. Great to have you here this morning. Now we're going to combine two innovative digital methods. First, we're going to travel together virtually to Rwenzori in northwestern Uganda, where we're going to meet the coffee farmer Jocelyn Twice and her husband Mutagwanza Sanarai. They're going to show us how they work with climate adaptation. Now, Jocelyn's a member of Isebwe Farmers Marketing Cooperative Society, which is a partner in WeEffect's Uganda Coffee Project. Now, the primary objective of this project, and this can sound like a large objective, but it's actually fully true, and it's to revolutionize coffee production and to foster sustainability, increase productivity, enhance quality of coffee, and create and strengthen economic opportunities for coffee farmers. But as we all know, climate change continues to pose a significant challenge to their farming and farming all around the world. Excessive rainfall and floods have adverse effects on their coffee crops, and through training they're able to adapt their ways of farming, for example by integrating soil and water management techniques. But let's let Josephine tell us more about this in just a minute.
I hope you all are ready with your morning coffee, so you can not only engage with our right holders in the coffee farm, but also follow us when we shift to our digital studio in Addis Abeba in Ethiopia. There we will listen to local actors and voices also from Swedish Development Corporation and the regional embassy in Ethiopia, and hear how we can actually link agency at the farm with the effects and results from the Africa Climate Summit and the upcoming COP28. So we will not only travel to Uganda but also continue to Ethiopia. And you have the possibility to engage. you are part of the travel. So ask your questions. We have a box below. Post your questions there. Don't be shy. Now we hope that Catherine and the Uganda team at the farm are ready. So over to you, Catherine.
Thank you and welcome. We are live in Mount Rwenzori, also known as the Mountain of the Moon. And today we'll be live visiting the farm of Jocelyn Sanaili and Mutalanzwa Sanaili. Both of them are coffee farmers here at Mount Rwenzori, where they are practicing sustainable agriculture. So we'll be able to see some of the experiences for them as a farmer and some of the challenges that they experience in their day-to-day life. Therefore, sit back, relax, and immerse yourself in the process as you walk with us the journey of almost close to 10,000 kilometers to witness the life of a farmer here in Uganda. So welcome, Jocelyn.
Welcome, viewers. I'm Jocelyn Taise, a farmer of Isebwe Farmers Marketing Cooperative Society. This is my farm. It is located in Ihanisel, Uganda 2 Ward, Uganda Chanya Town Council, Kasese District, Rwenzori Region, Uganda. Here is my animals pen. I'm having sheep and goats. These animals, they help me to get manure that I use in my farm. Here is my farm. In front of me, there is a white bag. This white bag helps me to keep the environment of my farm safe. This white bag is having plastic objects and polythene bags. As you are seeing these two objects here, we as coffee farmers, if you leave them in your farm, they can last for more than 200 years to decay. And after removing them from the farm, and these ones, mostly these ones, when we go to market, we bring our food and whatever from them. When we reach here, we keep them here. As we proceed to my coffee farm, here is my home. This home you are seeing here is a result of Farm A and Farm B. And this land C, it is 1 acre land. It is having 279 coffee trees. This last season, the main one, we got 300 kilograms of coffee. In front of me here, this is coffee. We picked it when it was red. And by picking it, we use a basket and basin. After picking it from the garden, we come and dry it on a tarpaulin, not on the floor, not on the ground. As we proceed to the coffee farm, here in Kasese, we as coffee farmers, we all of the big number we practice coffee farming. Me as Jocelyn in my family, this coffee I get from my farm, most of my time, I roast it, I also take on it, and the balance I sell in the market, others I sell in the cooperatives, others I sell in the small shops.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Welcome. I'm now at the farm of Jocelyn, and as she's coming down the farm, she'll be able to give us more details about the coffee tree, and also more details about what are the returns from this farm for her as a smallholder coffee farmer. Welcome, Jocelyn.
Welcome, viewers. This farm C you are seeing here, it is having 279 coffee trees. And here in Rwenzori, we plant Arabica coffee because it is the one which is favorable for our soils here. And this Arabic coffee we are planting here in Rwenzori, we have 2 seasons. We have the fly season and the main season. And this Arabic coffee you are seeing here, it is a cash crop here in Rwenzori region. It is the one that helps us to improve our families and our way of living. This Arabic coffee you are seeing, we pick only the red berries. We don't pick green and we don't pick the yellow ones. As you saw on my tapling, I also picked only red. As you look at my farm, it is having bananas. The bananas you are seeing in my farm are for food security because you cannot depend on coffee only. You can see my farm is having trees like sesbania trees, the Golveria, the Lucamia altaya. These trees you are seeing in my farm, they help my coffee farm to get shades. During drought, those shades help the coffee not to get dry. Still the trees in this farm, they help me to manure my garden. Still the trees you are seeing in this farm, they help my home to get firewood. You can look on my farm, it is having trenches and it is having mulches. These trenches, they control soil erosion from my farm. And the mulching you are seeing there, this farm, the way you are seeing it, we don't use a hoe. Our agronomists, they come and train us not to use hoes, but we use a slasher and sometimes we just remove using hands. You can see in front of me there is a fence. That fence protects my garden not to have trespasses of my neighbors and animals' neighbors. That fence helps me. If someone entered my garden, I will know because I will find one tree of the fence when it has fallen down.
Okay, thank you, Jocelyn. I have a question for you. Now, for this specific tree, how many kilos do you harvest? And also, in general, from all your coffee bushes, how many kilograms do you harvest from your farm? But we can start with this specific coffee tree.
This specific coffee tree, like the way you are seeing it right now, you can see it is having the green berries. Like these ones you are seeing here, I will pick them in the fry season, which is March. This tree, I will get 1 kilogram, the dried one. But if I pick and sell ready cherry, I will get 6 buckets. And those 6 buckets, here on our local language, there are 6 kilograms. When I dry the 6 kilograms, I will get 1 kilogram. But here in Rwenzori, at least, if now like this tree, the way you are seeing it, they are still young because they planted them 2017. But if you got a tree like in Farm A, which is having more than 9 years, with it I can get 2 kilograms, 3 kilograms. It depends on the soil and the environment where the tree is planted.
Wow, what a bumper harvest for you as a farmer. So how does that translate to your livelihood? How has that impacted your life and that of your family?
Because of this coffee planting here in Rwenzori, for example, me as my family, because of this farm, I have improved my life, and even you can look at my home, it is a result because of being a coffee farmer. And because of being a coffee farmer and in a cooperative, I don't sell my coffee to middlemen, to those people who move around. I pick my coffee, I sell it at once to the cooperative, and the cooperative, they gives me good money. But in the years behind, the middlemen could come, they greet you, Mama, how are you? Do you know the price of coffee has reduced? So there is this price. If you don't sell today, tomorrow you will find one has reduced totally. So because of being in a cooperative, I no longer face those challenges of middlemen to come and steal my coffee and by giving me low prices. Addition to that, because of being a coffee farmer, it has helped me, my children, they are all in good schools. Even if you have a look at my home, it is a nice one because of being a coffee farmer.
Yeah, I know it's not been rosy for you. I know you have experienced some challenges in your farming, or the farm at the farming here in Rwenzori. What are some of those challenges that you experience, especially around issues of climate?
Here in Rwenzori region, it's true we have challenges with the environment. I'm introducing my husband, Mr. Sanail Mutaanzwa, to come and give out the challenges that we face here in our coffee farm.
Thank you. I'm Tanza Sanail. This is my wife, and I'm a coffee farmer. The challenges that we are facing as coffee farmers, one of the challenges is climate change. In climate change, we experience droughts, prolonged droughts in some months like from December to May. The droughts, actually, it lowers our production. With that, we have tried to plant some trees to give us shade so that we minimize on drought losses. Another one, when it's long, the drought is long, after we receive some heavy rainfalls, whereby we stay on the slopes, whereby we experience soil erosion. By this, we have tried, as we are saying, we have so many changes in our garden to control soil erosion, and the little rain that we receive, it enters in the soil and then it's being picked up by our coffee, so that to minimize the losses. And we have also, as you have seen, we have so many trees, different species in our farm, so that it also helps us to control the soil, and the trees, they give us more nitrogen, whereby the trees of coffee needs more nitrogen to survive. We also have a challenge of lower prices. By lower prices, the price here is not stable. We find in the morning the price is high, but in the evening the price is low. But we have tried to manage this by being in a cooperative, selling together with other farmers. By this also we have tried it by roasting part of our coffee from this farm, and we sell it locally, and we take part of it, so that to add value on our coffee. So many people who always come here, they taste our coffee from this farm, and they see how it's nice is, and their flavors and their nice aromas. People who have come here can also tell. And we have another challenge of infrastructure as farmers, inadequate. Our roads are not good, whereby we are transporting our coffee to the market. During the rainfalls, we fail to transport coffee. We use even our bags to carry the coffee to the nice roads so that we sell our coffee. We also another challenge of weeds. Weeds as coffee farmers during rain, and now this is a raining season. Weeds spreads very quickly. You find every week, every 2 weeks, slashing, whereby all our children always in school, and we always work together with my wife in the farm. And when it's coming to time of picking our coffee, it's here charges are very high for us, because everybody here around, she has coffee. So to get somebody to pick for you, find a person is charging you a lot of money, like 3,000, 4,000. So it's all those charges are threatening us not to earn more money in our farms. but we are trying all in all to see that we add more. Those are the challenges that we're expressing in this farm as co-farmers of this household. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanairi and Madam Jocelyn. Wow, what an incredible journey for us to be able to experience the life of a smallholder farmer here in Uganda. You can see coffee is rewarding, but it has its own challenges, especially some that farmers cannot be able to cope with, mostly from climate change. But you can see from the experience and story of Jocelyn and Mr. Sanaili, they are able to come up with climate mitigation and adaptation methods here in their small farm in Mount Rwenzori. So thank you, and now we'll go back and throw back the questions to the studio so that they can be able to respond to the questions that our viewers have to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine, and to all the three of you. And there's lots of engagement in the digital travel, so we have questions here for you. The questions I want to raise firstly are two. One is, how much do the coffee production vary between different years? I mean, it's great. I hear you laughing there in the background. But how much do actually the coffee production vary between the years? That's the question we have from one of the participants. Another one is also if you could further elaborate on how you collaborate with other farmers, both when it comes to sales, but also in the everyday production.
Question again, it has and we you can ask the questions again.
Yes, I will ask them again. There's two. The first is, how much does the coffee production vary between different seasons and years? And the second question is, how do you collaborate with other farmers, both in sales and coffee productions? And I see the rain is pouring down. Maybe that affects your availability to answer. We are actually more fortunate to be in a studio, but we see the wind might affect you. I will actually turn to you, Anna.
Yeah.
Because could you reflect on these questions? You have been engaging with this farm and other partners who we affect in the field. What's your experience on the cooperation?
Well, the collaboration is between different farmers within the cooperative organization, of course, but also between different cooperatives and other organizations for exchange of experiences, but also for increased technical know-how. And also in this specific case, there's also a collaboration with a Swedish coffee company that are also providing their expertise when it comes to enhancing the quality of sustainably grown coffee so that it fetches a higher price on the market. And we'll just do some advertising. This is what the coffee looks like. It's now come to Sweden and is going to be sold here, which is absolutely great. So that's when it comes to collaboration. And the other question was the coffee production, how it varies over the years. I don't have the details for this specific farm, but we know that climate change and the conditions, of course, means that the variation is larger in more recent years than it was before. So some years very good, other years not. And I think that's one of the challenges then. And what we try to do as we affect is to ensure a base price. So that the farmers always know that they're going to have a basic price for their coffee production. But I think, do you think we lost Uganda in the rain?
I think they're back. They're now safe. The rain is still pouring, but I think you managed to get under a ceiling there, and we have got some great insights and reflections on the questions from Anna Tiblin, Secretary General of WeEffect. But we also want to ask you once again if you want to add anything. Catherine, do you want me to repeat the questions or did you get them before?
repeat the question, we are now in a stable place. Thank you.
Okay, I love the drama in this digital travel, you know. It's really experiencing the everyday life at the farm. So the two questions was both how the coffee production vary between different years, and the second question was how you collaborate with other farmers, both for sales and production.
Yes, Jocelyn, the question is how... That's the first question. I think you can address that.
The price of coffee here in Rwenzori region, it differs. Every season, the price is not the same. Like the current season, like right now, a kilogram is the one which is Druga. It is at 8,700. And red cherry, a kilogram is at 2,000.
And do you know, as a farmer, maybe what are some of the reasons that make that, what would you attribute to?
I think maybe we lost Uganda. Shall we bring it back to the studio? What do you
Yes.
think?
I think we go back to the studio, and this is the reality on the farm. When the rain is pouring, it affects both electricity cuts,
Absolutely.
internet access. It's really what we see, and it really also impacts sales and the possibility to sustain livelihood income. So at the same time as we want to embrace digital transformation, we also acknowledge that there are challenges in digital ways of working. Let's go back here to the studio, and I want to ask you, Karin, when you travel down now to the farm and see the local realities and listen straight from the horse's mouth from the farmers, what comes to your mind?
I think I see very committed farmers that are doing great under quite difficult circumstances. I see, I mean, of course, the cooperative is important. They can work together, the husband and the wife. So I see, and it's very interesting, of course, to hear about the linkage to the Swedish coffee company.
Yeah.
To see kind of the trail. Here we grow a nice coffee that you only can find in Uganda, and you can get it to Sweden and drink it here. So I'm quite impressed by the work the farmers are doing and the work that We Effect is doing.
I know that you are also very passionate about gender justice and women's right in Swedish Development Cooperation. And listening to the voice of a female farmer, what's your reflection when it comes to integrating gender into sustainability, farming, livelihood, production in Swedish Development Cooperation?
And that's of course very, I mean, it's crucial. We know that the women are the farmers. So and of course they work together in the family, and that's also important because you have to involve also men when you work with gender equality. So yes, it's great to see that it's a female farm, but she's working together with her husband.
And also maybe to add, what's so important here is also that with these kinds of collaborations, what's happening is that women are also becoming part of the formal economy. So it's about inclusive economic development where women not only take part but are also actually leading the change. So I think that's...
And before we move on in the digital journey to do the shift here in the studio and to go to Ethiopia, we will see if you have a final greeting from the farm in Uganda. Should we try to bring you in a final time? Catherine? Let us see if you try to speak. Otherwise, we would just ask you to greet us, maybe with a hand waving or a smile from the farm. We are sorry that you were caught in the rain, but we have richly enjoyed hearing your on-the-ground reflection and the challenges you see, but also opportunities. With this, I will hand back to you, Anna.
And I'll just thank you so much, Jocelyn, Mutagwanza, and Catherine. I mean, like you said, Josephine, it's reality, it's raining, but thank you so much for showing us your farm and the challenges, but also the opportunities. And I think, shall we move on
Yes.
to the next step? So back to you, Josephine.
Yes, thank you. And now we have been in Uganda, which is situated in Eastern Africa, the Pearl of Africa. Now we are moving to the highlands, to Ethiopia and to Addis Abeba. And there we are exploring a second methods in digital transformation and Swedish Development Corporation, and that is Digital Studio as a means of working with digitalization. And the idea behind the Digital Studio is to connect with the world and to be able to access better microphones, cameras, and technique, and you can actually collectively share it. So this studio that you can now see here is built by our local staff of LM International in Addis, and local material has been utilized, even local mattresses from the markets in Addis to make it soundproof, and it has been lots of engagement behind. And the idea is also that it should be cost effective. A digital studio should not be too expensive. Now we will go straight to the studio, and we have two men sitting in the studio in front of us. The first is Ayele. You are a senior program manager working at the Swedish Embassy in Addis Abeba in Ethiopia, and you are working with regional and development cooperation in Africa with a priority on environment and climate. So you're mostly welcome in this digital journey, Ayele. And then we have Tagele. You are executive director for Ibesedo, one of LM International's local partner organization in Ethiopia. And you are working bottom up with local communities to bring resilience, to drive environmental justice and sustainability with local communities, also with an emphasis on moral duty bearers and faith communities. So you are welcome here. And the first question I want to pose to you, Tagele, I want to hear your reflections on what we just experienced in Uganda. I mean, we know we can't continue business as usual with conventional farming methods. We have to look at alternatives and also rethinking renewable energy sources. So with this in mind, what's your reflection from the visit to the farm?
Yes, thank you, Josephine. Thank you, viewers. I found it very interesting to listen Jocelyn and her husband, and that the concept of agroecology is a multidisciplinary approach that's really practiced in the farm what we have visited virtually in Uganda. So just to show my reflection on this regard, they have been using their indigenous knowledge to protect soil fertility and minimizing chemical inputs. That's what I observed from their experience. And then they were using local income, how they were increasing their income by using their own knowledge in their farm. And then the importance of biodiversity and social health in agroecology. That's what I observed from the visit of social virtual tour. And then it's promoting local knowledge, and they were avoiding, for example, plastic bags, how this hamper, soil fertility. And then they were using their own knowledge to keep the soil fertility. That's what I observed. The other point is promoting agroecology can increase production yield, and that's also one of the important area. Reduce the needs of chemical inputs, and then they have been using diversified, different trees, like not only coffee. I'm observing that there are different vegetables and trees integrated in their farm. Thus, really help the soil fertility as well as responding to climate action. These are the points I'm trying to capture, and then this is my reflection. Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you so much, Tagele. And moving on to you, Ayele, from the Swedish Embassy. You were recently present at the African Climate Summit in September in Nairobi. And as we may know, some of us here in the travel, the summit resulted in the Nairobi Declaration. In what way would you say that the recommendation and outcome of the summit and the declaration managed and succeeded in addressing some of these shifts that are needed in order to see, a more sustainable change in Africa?
So thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm very happy also to have the virtual tour to Uganda. And I'm also very much impressed by what is going on the ground when it comes to the conservation and farming practices, very much respecting the natural processes. My participation to Nairobi, I have to give you some background, because the African Climate Summit is the first thing for Africa. It's also a new beginning for Africa's climate politics. It was not there before. So this is a good platform for Africans to come together and voice and produce one sound. At the same time, it was also a platform. So far, we have been considering Africa as victims of climate impacts. But the Nairobi summit also considers that Africa is not only victims, but also real potential to address climate actions. So this is a paradigm shift. This is something good. We are not only considering the negative aspect. So the theme by itself was that driving green growth and climate finance solutions for Africa and the world. So that is a big and very important theme, where, as you have said, the summit was attended by a good number of participants from different segments of the society. It was attended by a good number of heads of states and more than 30,000 people from different angles. That means there was a participation from the civil society and from the marginalized groups, and there was also participation from indigenous communities, where the point is very much connected to what we have seen in Uganda. So that indigenous knowledge and embedded practices was also a point of discussion, because agriculture is now to the climate politics. So there are many things as a result of this summit, which is also a basis for Africa's positions for the upcoming climate summit, which will happen after 2 or 3, just a month in end of November and that of December. And it's also the Nairobi Declaration is a very elaborated statement, which will be considered a roadmap for Africa's participation in the climate politics, in the climate negotiations. So it is a landmark. It is the beginning of a new direction. It's also a big achievement for Africa to consider itself not only as a victim, but also a potential for the climate solutions. That's my reflection, sir.
Then I have a follow-up one for you. You're not gonna, it's not that easy yet done. So in this paradigm shift that you are talking about, Ayele, how can and how will actually Sweden support implementation of these efforts? How will Sweden ensure that we are walking the talk that is stipulated in the Nairobi Declaration?
Okay, thank you for the question. Before coming to the specific case to Sweden, I would like to focus on the process. This negotiation on climate is a process. It has been there for many years, and nobody knows the when and where about of the last COP. That's my wish. But as a process, Sweden has been actively participating from different angles. Sweden is active in the international platforms, regional platforms, and bilateral platforms. We are actively supporting the major initiatives operating at a global level. And we are also actively participating, starting from the African Union down to the bilateral relations that we have established with the member states of the African Union. Swedish support is mainly connected to the Swedish International Development Agency's task, which is appropriated by the government of Sweden. And Sida's activity is guided by strategies. And this strategy is very much connected to the actual situations and understanding of the different stakeholders. We are actively working at the involving the civil societies where they can influence the policy environment at different levels. So that's how Sweden considers and engaged into the process, considering the different entry points at different levels.
Thank you so much, Ayele. And what the takeaways I take from your reflection is that Sweden plays a crucial role in enabling voice, enabling agency of a broad range of stakeholders in order to tackle the challenges that are raised in the Nairobi Declaration. Tagele, moving back to you, to actually ensure societal change and to see that we can move in this paradigm shift, it's all about actually on the ground changing a lot of behaviors and attitudes. And in this, we know that apart from the formal, from the legal duty bearers, we also have very much presence of moral duty bearers, culture leaders, clan leaders, faith leaders, all these leaders on the ground that are exercising moral power and are having a great influence over values, behavioral change in communities. So how are you engaging with these moral duty bearers, and how are you effectively driving change at the local level?
Thank you very much for the question. You know, we have been working as one of the local implementers in relation to the climate, addressing climate issues, just as a local NGO over 3 decades. In 2019, we were convinced to integrate the local knowledge, religious knowledge, to integrate the program. That was a historical paradigm shift in the project. We are addressing the climate issue and food security. And then in 2019, we integrate phase actors to respond the climate issue based on their sacred book. That was really marvelous jump in the history of addressing this food security and climate issues. And then we invite phase actors from different denominations and to share what the sacred book deals about the climate issue. And then we were facilitating the program, but in the front, the phase actors were played significant role to convince their adherents, and then teaching from the scripture how climate issue is framed, for example, in Holy Bible and Holy Quran. That was a very important paradigm shift to own the climate crisis as their own agenda, and then it was owned by the religious adherents to respond the climate crisis. It's not driven, the conviction was it's not driven by UN agencies, or it's not the agenda of the government, it's not the agenda of funding agencies. It's a responsibility which has been bestowed to the religious leaders to act in climate crisis. And then we actually facilitate the event to address on the tree launching ceremony. We invite the government officials, phase leaders, and to address their message. They were using their Holy Bible, for example, teaching from the scripture from the very beginning, from Genesis chapter 1. When God created Adam and Eve, He put them in the Garden of Eden, not just to enjoy the fruits. It's a responsibility directly mentioned to protect the Garden of Eden and to cultivate. Thus, responsibilities preached from the scripture, and then the adherents from each religion own the concept and they start to work in their own plot, as well as spare parts in the community, like a school compound and the church compound, as well as in their own plot, start to plant. We were offering just a practical show to the community, and then we have distributing actually the seedlings to the community, whether it is fruit or exotic trees. That's where we were supporting them as a practical initiation, and then they will start their own nursery site, and then they start to work in their own plot. That was what we did with the moral duty bearers to address the climate crisis. Thank you.
So looking then how locally led and bottom-up approaches can effectively change things locally. When you, as someone, as a representative of a local actor, look at the Africa Climate Summit and also the upcoming COP28, what, from your perspective, what do we anticipate as the most important issues from the African continent to be?
Yes, thank you for this question again. It's very important, and I think the Nairobi Declaration also promotes locally led knowledge to be utilized to respond to climate crisis, and then there is a lot of potential areas to respond by enhancing the local knowledge, as well as Africa. And then Ethiopia, we do have our own resource to respond to the climate issue. And then when we came to COP28, my anticipation is just I would like to bring to the viewers and concerned bodies and the locally led knowledge should be taken as an important platform, or taken as to be discussed on the table to integrate this knowledge, as well as the religious knowledge and moral, and then ethics to respond in climate crisis is the important platform. And then it's not, for example, I'm thinking on the relation to the cost. For example, when we are using the phase actors, it's not demand high amount of fund, It's we can use the knowledge, it's already there. It's a matter of mobilizing and show the direction. They can respond even without requesting, big fund size from the funding agencies. And by considering this, wide range, for example, I'm looking, some statistics from global level. 84% of the global population is, in one or other way, following some sort of religion. So religious values, moral and ethics is very important, and considering such big size of global population, religious concept should be integrated in the COP28 summit. That should be taken as to give priority to share their experience and mobilizing them to be on platform. Thank you.
And here I can also see a lot of similarities between your experience from Ethiopia and the experience we heard from the coffee farmers in Uganda. The importance of indigenous knowledge, indigenous Africa belief, local culture in production, the local values, and to have both production, sales, and also climate activism to be locally led, and also bringing women in the forefront. Going back to you, Ayele, if we look at from the African Climate Summit that recently took place in Nairobi, Sweden didn't make any precise commitment similar in comparison with countries such as Denmark in terms of providing specific earmarked financial support to the accelerated partnership for renewable in Africa. There were these pledges, and I would like to hear from you. Could you reflect on what kind of support to climate change action can we expect from Sweden in the upcoming COP28?
Thank you for the question, and I also note that point during my participation. One thing we should know, or our audiences and the viewers should underline, is that the climate is a process, and Sweden has actively participating in the process. It's not just a show up. So we are there from the beginning, and we have been actively engaged in most of the initiatives that are very successful at a continental level, at a global level, and down to the local level. So most of the initiatives have direct or indirect contact with the Swedish interest and support. The other point that we should underline about COP28, it is just a process, a continuation of what has been done so far. And some people even consider that COP28 is a very decisive opportunity or platform. This is because COP28 will be the first platform to have the stake talk. Countries have submitted their national contributions, and this is the time, and the Paris Agreement put an article stating that these commitments are subject for a review at 5 years interval. Unfortunately, because of COVID, the world was not in a position to review its commitments and to really understand where we are heading to Are we on track? Are we lagging behind? Are we ahead of our plan? And so on. This is a stopover to take a stock and understand our direction. And at the same time, it makes the conclusion of the first, after taking this global stock take, and there was a commitment or an understanding in COP27 that was held in Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh, and where the world agreed on how to operationalize the understanding that was taken in COP27, that is the loss and damage aspect of the climate. That is a very sensitive and controversial topic, but we have to push it forward and we have to make some decisions, advancements to operationalize it. The second point for COP28, it is a platform or a framework to adopt a framework for achieving the Paris Agreement global goal of adaptations. So there was a commitment before, and COP28 is the perfect platform to discuss the whereabouts of these commitments. The third important point is there is also a standing committee for finance. Finance is very important, and we have also observed this fact during the Nairobi summit, where a considerable amount, but still we are lagging behind. So that final report will be presented during the COP28. So our expectation from COP28 should be framed within these three important points. One is the loss and damage. The second is the global adaptation report. And the third one is developing a framework for the financing aspect of this climate negotiation. So
thank you so much, Ayele. Thank you so much for sharing these three important takeaways. And we are looking forward to follow the Swedish government and the positions that will be taken in the upcoming COP28. Thank you also, Tagele, from sharing from bottom up with local communities in Ethiopia. Now I will give Anna Tibelin the last 2 minutes to round up this digital journey of today.
Thank you very much, Josephine, and thank you also friends and colleagues from Addis. I think what we've seen here is the great potential and opportunity with digital travel as a tool, not only for development but also for empowerment and increased understanding. Because in this meeting we have visited Jocelyn and her husband's coffee farm. We've seen the coffee bushes and the rain pouring down. We've been sitting with you here in the studio now discussing the effects at the global climate discussion level. And we're not talking about you, we're talking together in the same forum. And that, I think, is an enormous development and opportunity. So thank you very much for that. And there's a question also in the chat saying, can we replace physical travel with digital travel? I think to a large extent, yes, we can. We also need to recognize that digital travel many times is better, because we couldn't have this discussion if we would have been physically in place. So thank you very much for this. Thank you, Josephine, for hanging out with us here in We Effect. Also thank you to Karin from Sida, who had to leave. And looking forward to seeing you all probably on a laptop or computer close to you sometime soon. Thank you very much for joining us today.